Jane, I want to come to you. We've touched on the curriculum, the education, the queenship, and thank you, Doc, for raising the Pull Her Down syndrome. I'm going to take it to both of you, Jane and Sharon. You for the young people, the youth, the girls, the ones that are hidden, the girls that are in the kitchen, the girls that struggle when it's time to go to school and they're on their period and then they can't go to school. For me, that's another war, violence situation. Why are they being, Jane, how do we pull her up? Every single one of us in the room. How do we pull her up to get to this place where we are able to have these conversations? I think for me, that's the key thing. We need to have the conversations, and many of us women shy away from the conversations, especially our age group and the young age group. So I'll give that question to both of you. Jane, you can start.
Okay, thank you. I think, let me say we have to go back to basics. If the person is still young, let me start from the younger ones going up. I grew up with my mom. I had both parents, but my father was forever in the army. So I would simply say I grew up with a single mom because dad was forever at work. We never had dad around. And I would say that my mom had this law, besides us coming from a bloodline of royalty, she would always say that every morning when I wake up, she would look at me and say, tell me what you think. I'll tell you how I think of my day. And then she would say, I want you to repeat after me. You can do it, you can make it, you are able, and you're going to do it.
Sure.
So anytime I would feel like I can't do it, I'll remember mom said, I can do it. When I feel like I'm not able to do it, I'll remember, no, mom said, you are able to do it. So I think from basics to those that have young children, I would say that install in them the confidence.
Yeah.
Speak to them in the morning. No matter how young they are, kids can respond. Speak to them, good, you can do this, especially if it's a woman, because normally women already, like one panelist said here, that the role was always in the kitchen. We have always had a place where we are pushed. It's high time we take them young to say, you know what, you can be a leader. In the Bible before, women were not allowed to preach. It was a job for men. But my mom, because she always said, you can do it, you will do it, and you are able to do it. Today I'm a preacher. I'm able to stand up before men and speak. Yep. If we are now grown-ups like that, sometimes you need to wake up, look at the mirror, look at yourself, tell yourself, I can do this. I'm going to make it. You really have to put the confidence in yourself because no one is coming to do it for you. You need to stand. If other women can stand as our founder, she has been able to bring up this. She did it. You can do it. Besides, our topic says here, the other one says that the theme says, I am human like you.
Yeah.
If they are able to do it, what is wrong with you? You have 5 cents, you're not disabled. Even disabled people, we've seen them, they come to big platforms and speak.
Yep.
And you are not disabled. What is wrong? It's the mindset. So we need to fix how we think. The moment you tell yourself, I can't do this, trust me, even if you could, eventually you won't. And there is no spirit in it, it is just the mindset. So you need to change how you think. You need to realign yourself, reprogram yourself. Every morning I tell myself, it's gonna be a good day. I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna hear good news. Don't be negative. As a woman, you need to always think of positive things. Tell yourself, I'm gonna hear good news. Remember, whatever you think, you attract. So how are you thinking? That's how we need to start fixing it. If you think low on yourself, definitely you will be low. If you think high of yourself, definitely things will pull up. One way or the other, way is always open. So I think we need to start from basics. Let's change our mindset. Let's be positive. Let's see Africa as the next Europe. But if we see Africa as the dust where people come and get buried, since when we get money, we go to Europe. We don't vacate in Africa. We all want to go to Europe. Let's bring the Europe into Africa. And it starts with how you see it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jane. I saw something that says, if you believe it, you're halfway there. Right? If you believe it, I love you touch on the African continent. We are vacating in Europe. I've been to Kenya a couple of times through my work, and I'm like, I could live here. But let me tell you, South Africans, who are the South Africans in the room? Can I see the hands up? South Africans in the room? Panelists, anyone South African in the room? Let me tell you, when you go to the African continent, the rest of Africa thinks of South Africa as the first world of Africa. We have a job to do.
Wow.
South Africans. Right? When you get onto a stage like our speak, if we all had to go on a stage, whether it's Kenya, Ghana, they get excited. It's like, oh, we've got people from South Africa. So I'm challenging you. We have work to do. We have resources, but we have work to do around education. Young girl, Sharon, let's close you off. And then I know I've overrun on this panel. I will make up on time. Talk to us, young people. What are we doing around war and violence? How do we up the young girls and the young boys? Please, may I ask, let us not leave the young boys behind.
Thank you.
This is my belief system. We are so big on talking about women, girls, let's say, where are the boys? When you then see GBV, is it not a case that the young boys are saying, but what's happening to us? Why is the focus only on women? Sorry, I'm just sliding that in there. Back to you, Sharon.
All right, thank you. When it comes to war and violence and what we can do for our youth, the spirit of Ubuntu, to be very honest as a young person, is slowly fading away in the youth.
Sure.
That is the harsh truth. It is not every young person that understands that Africa, we are a giant that is sleeping.
Yep.
So what we need to do for the youth is to educate them.
There you
They
go.
need to understand that Africa is a giant and we need to come together. For instance, when we look back at when Africa was fighting for its freedom, we saw that South African soldiers were trained in Libya. We saw that Zimbabwean soldiers were trained in Zambia. We saw that Congo was held by Zimbabwe. We saw African countries coming together to collaborate for their freedom. They put their differences aside. They came together. We're young people. We have different mindsets. We have different views. What we can do for our continent is to put our differences aside. You're from South Africa, you're from Tanzania, you're from Egypt, you're from wherever in the continent where you're from. We put our differences aside and we come together. We need to understand that we are the future of Africa. And if we sleep on our continent, we will regret it in a couple of years. I want to go back to one of the panelists mentioned education and the educational system on how it is structured in a East-Western way.
Yep.
We need to change that. We are Africans. We have our culture. We have a certain way of doing things.
Yes.
We need to incorporate that into our educational system. We need to learn more about agriculture. We need to learn more about livestock farming. We need to learn more about mining. They will not steal from us if we already know what we have. They steal from us because we're not really sure what we have. We don't know, oh, we have a mineral that produces electrical cars, and yet we don't have as much electrical cars as they have in America.
Sure.
That is an abomination that needs to change.
Come on now. That is an abomination that needs to change.